Okay, we've got 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get the meeting started, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, everybody. We're going to do roll call, and we will just do the folks up here at the table.
Sarah Darding.
Christy Van Meter.
Lauren Tice Miller.
Sheila Magers.
Erica Price.
Sarah Sanders.
Rocky Buznitz.
Buck Ruder.
Kristen Fisher.
We now need an approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda with one modification, or two modifications. Yeah. Can we amend to remove items 7C and 8A, since those have been resolved?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Sarah, second by Rocky. All in favor? 7-0. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the March 23rd, 2026 regular meeting. Need a motion? Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Sarah. All in favor? 7-0. We'll move on to communications, bond project updates. Whitney. Henley, right? Thank you.
Is it on? Okay. We're just going to do a really quick schedule update over what we've been doing on the design, and then focus on high school and middle school progression and what the next steps are. So we've looked at this about every time so far. We have moved from the schematic design phase to the design development phase. So this just means that we found the approximate scope of what we're looking to do. Now we're going to add more detail to to cabinets and whiteboards and where teacher desks are and all the very fine details. Then we're still looking at the same 6 packages, and then we are working on budget updates. So we did meet and went over the schematic design budget a couple weeks ago, and it is still within line of what we would expect. There is a little bit of a global impact happening at the moment that may impact this in our next budget update, which we are planning to do at the end of April, beginning of May. So the first board meeting in May, we'll probably have some updates on some costs and what those impacts are starting to look like. Probably go to the next slide. Okay, so nothing much has changed on this. What we are still doing, we're still meeting with the user groups in the high school. We're still focusing on the facts in the kitchen and counseling as listed there. The Fieldhouse project has also been met and looked at. It has grown a little bit above and beyond what the original intent was. So the idea is to put that on pause, focus on academics, make sure we're getting all of those complete. And then if there is extra left over, then we can help meet those potential needs at the Fieldhouse. So that will just maybe move a little bit of the timeline on when that's done. Maybe not by football 2027, but that's still in discussion, still very much entry level. At the middle school, we, again, are still doing user meetings with all of these groups, facts, science, robotics, counseling, additional restrooms, kitchen and dining. We actually had one of those meetings today. So this was the schematic design. On the next slide, it kind of focuses on what we really honed in on over the last month, and which is the addition, the 6th grade wing addition, just making sure that this is the right size. The team has really been evaluating what square footage per student looks like in these middle schools that are 6 through 8. And just making sure that we're not shortcutting it or getting it too heavy. So this is what we landed on. The original program size was at 24,500, and right now that floor plan you're looking at right now is closer to 2,800, or 28,000 square feet. So we have grown a little bit, but it's very in line with what these middle schools usually have square footage per student. Another item that we've been focusing on over the last month is the kitchen and dining. So originally there was a potential expansion. I wouldn't say addition, but expansion to this area. And through discussions and really looking at it, the staff had noted that what would actually work better with 6th grade going in there is changing their kitchen to a production kitchen. So since there will be 3 grades there, more actually producing the food, making the food, and serving it there. So to do that, we would be getting rid of the stage, which again, with all the meetings, everybody was okay with using mobile risers for any of those programs that they would be doing there. I assume that you're familiar with the middle school, but the top there is where the stage is. They would be taking that stage out, using it for that expanded cafeteria area. And then during productions, they could take those tables out, put up the stands, and then do their programs that way. And then the budget that was originally there for that expansion is now being rerouted to that production kitchen cost. So then the next steps are, again, budget reviews, the design development. We'll know a little bit more about what the impacts are happening. We also had hazardous material surveys done over spring break at Barryton, the middle school and the high school. Awaiting the final reports for that, but that will also be incorporated in these budgets and with the construction sequences. We already approved the summer work, which is, again, the playgrounds and HVAC. We do have the next package that we have will be for site utility relocations, so we can work on getting those roads rerouted for the gym additions. And then, again, I already went over, we have a little bit of testing and abatement still going on, and then the road connection study and all the permits will also be updated as we get that information. That was a lot, and I went really fast, I'm sorry. Were there any questions on that?
When we met last, there was a question or a comment made about the parking lot and the subgrade there. Has any new information been found out about that?
They did get a couple of the cores. I'm not going to be able to, off the top of my head, remember the locations, but they did get some further information on the condition. And there was one that was in line with what we thought, and there was one section that was a little bit worse, but I'm not going to be able to tell you off the top of my head what those are, but we do have a document that shows that and tells us that, so we can forward that on for the group if they want to look at it.
Any other questions?
Whitney, do you mind going back to the middle school addition? Oh, sorry, I guess that's you, Tiffany. Those kind of hashed outlines beyond
Yes.
the two hallways, are those,
Those are on there to dictate possible future expansion, like if you're, in the future, if your guys' number of students increased drastically for whatever reason, that's just the design team saying, per fire code, you could still kind of put a couple classrooms here at the end if you needed to someday.
okay. Also, when you were talking about the stadium field house, you said that that scope has grown. What's driving that? Can you give us a little bit of detail
It was
there?
just out of the initial meetings that we had with the staff there and the coaches and, you know, what that function would be and what it would be best with how those games go. And so then they're like, well, could we do, you know, and I think it was a good idea. It was just that it got a little bit outside of the original budget boundary. So we're protecting and safeguarding that budget. It's not going to go away. We just might be able to help get closer to that goal with those user meetings is what was driving it.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Whitney. We appreciate you. Next up, we will have status of the district secondary principals. Mr. West?
Good evening. It's been a while since we've been up here, so appreciate your support as always. First of all, I want to pass kudos to the leadership team and Sherry Monholland and Kayla Bonshaw and her group in terms of working towards transitioning into next year, which always starts with a lot of hires. They have oversaw that process, provided you a number of recommendations for consideration, and I know they got several more to go, but they've been busy in the interview process trying to fill some positions, and I know they got some quality candidates, and they're excited about the people that they've presented to you, at least on paper. Heights on Display, it's next Monday. In the past, that's been one that's collided with board meeting dates, but this year it does not, so would invite you to come join in and see the great work that our 2D and 3D art students produce. Usually there's a really nice display set up just down at the bottom of the staircase here in the South Commons area. It'll stay up for about a week or so that the kids can also take part in enjoying that outside of the Heights of Display hours. Also, our band, orchestra, and choir or present in a variety, either whole groups or in smaller groups as they prepare for regional and small group ensembles. So that's a great night. There'll be some other activities. There'll be some clubs that are there as well. Typically, there's some food or food trucks that are there. So it's a great evening, and would invite you again to take part in that. You just heard the presentation of the bond update. I do, and mentioned the users group meeting. I do want to provide a word of appreciation on behalf of our staff for being able to have a voice in the process and potentially influence what the final projects might look like within budget scopes and stuff. They really appreciate that. They feel like their voice is heard. There have been some adjustments made based on their experiences and expertise in the areas for which they will work and what they know in terms of their content. And again, I know they appreciate that. Much of the rest of the school year, we have about 7 weeks left or so, will be in testing mode. And I just wrote down some of the tests, larger scope, where maybe a grade level or a few individuals within the building will take part in. But we'll have state testing. We've started that process. We finished up KELPA. We have the ACT test starting tomorrow, and that is a group process among many of our staff members as well as district office and the IT department. We have dual credit finals that'll be coming up. We have advanced placement finals that'll be coming up. We have our regular finals just for our own classes that'll be coming up. We have Fast Bridge, and we have the Seal of Biliteracy. So we will be in full test mode for the next 7 weeks, in addition to trying to conduct the rest of the business that the school normally does. And then, of course, a large part of this process also is after finalizing student enrollment will be to develop a master schedule for the 26-27 school year. We're waiting on just a few more recommendations and maybe another area or two to be solidified so we know the content matter, which some of our new staff members will be teaching once they're recommended and approved, and then we should be able to work towards finalizing that. Our goal is always to have that done at the end of the school year. And I guess I should say too, since it was January last time I was up here, that we finished our winter season very successful. I hate to hesitate to try to name off a lot of things off the top of my head, but I know we had a state championship with the bowling. So that was really exciting. They did a great job. I know we had a number of individual state medalists and a couple of state champions when you look at all the sports together, whether that be the girls or boys wrestling or bowling or some of the other activities as well. So we finished strong, and again, we've started our spring activities as well with forensics and a number of our sporting activities. So any questions I can answer this evening?
I have one. For the Seal of Biliteracy, do we do that more than once a year, or is that only in the spring?
You can do that throughout the school year if you want. There's a waiting limit. We've found that towards the end of the year is kind of the best time to do that. So we have that scheduled for the last week in April. But when we first started and kind of got to know what the test was about and what the process was about, we would test them once in November, and then some of them we would try again in February and some in April. You have the ability to retest. There's 4 parts to that, and if you fall short in one of the areas, you can retake just that one area without having to retake the whole test. And if you fall short in more than one area, then you have to wait about 90 days in order to take the whole test again. So our kids, again, normally we've fallen into the process the last couple of years of just one time, but a lot of our kids start that as juniors, and so they have a couple of chances to do that. Often we'll probably test, I think I've got maybe 15 to 18 on the list this year. I would expect several of those to pass the exam, but then I would expect probably 4 or 5 more just to fall short in one area, and usually about half of them will pass once they're given that extra chance. And so,
If a student graduates that semester and they didn't finish it all before that, are they able to finish it?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr. West. Mr. Yurick?
Good evening, board members. Since I last spoke with you, the middle school has been doing quite a bit to transition our students from 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9th. I like to be in the center of that and coordinate those activities with other administrators, counselors, and mental health professionals. Since I last spoke with you, All of the sixth grade teachers, seventh grade teachers, and eighth grade teachers have completed core course recommendations for our exiting students going to the next grade level. We've had several transition meetings where my teams meet directly with the high school team and the sixth grade teams to have conversations about students, to make sure that all special learning plans are handed off and there's a handshake between the schools so that nothing's lost as kids translate from one grade level to the next. The final activities for the transition are a handoff meeting for all of our students with IEPs in the eighth grade. So my case managers will meet with the high school case managers and professionals there at Shawnee Heights High School and talk about those kids, make sure they're enrolled in the right courses and interventions. And then we have the high school tour for the eighth grade students that happens on Friday the 24th. So we'll take all of the eighth graders up there, one team at a time, and they'll have a nice tour. That's facilitated by Diane Morgan and Tiffany Underwood and others. So they'll tour around, they'll have a panel discussion, and they'll become acquainted with Shawnee Heights High School. So we're excited about that. The board, of course, is invited to the promotion. That's on the final day of classes. The way I like to do that is I will send out an edit link to a Google Doc. It'll have the times that you can show up, and as many board members as want to participate can go to each one of the promotion ceremonies. We do a separate ceremony for 8 red, 8 white, and 8 blue. We like to have at least a couple of board members at each one. So I'll send that out. If you can't use the link, you can just email me. That'll be very soon. Always appreciate having board members at the 8th grade promotion. And that, of course, is at the middle school gym. Summer learning program. So this is going to be the 6th year for the summer learning program at Shawnee Heights Middle School. This is a general education learning program. It's for pre-teaching, reteaching, and further conceptual development of key ELA and math topics. The goal for our incoming 7th grade students is to solidify key topics that they learn in 6th grade and then help prep them to be successful in the first quarter of 7th grade in ELA and math. They also have a school leadership course where they have contact with their counselor. I would recommend the summer learning program to any other principal in the state of Kansas who asks. It is absolutely beneficial. The kids have a lot of academic growth. They receive a lot of individualized attention. Students in summer learning take 3 classes a day, ELA, math, and school leadership. In each classroom, they have a certified teacher and a teacher's aide. And those students come to Shawnee Heights Middle School from 6th to 7th grade, knowing 40 to 60 other kids, having built positive relationships with teachers. They get a tour of the school. They learn how to problem solve. They know how to open their lockers. And they are our role models and school leaders when school starts. And I think it's a fantastic investment for our kids. And so I really appreciate the board for continuing to fund those positions. The HTK planning process, like Mr. West mentioned, I've found the HTK team and our district guardians to be probative and thoughtful. They ask a lot of great questions, questions that I wouldn't have thought to ask and our teachers wouldn't have thought to ask. It is a very thorough and efficient process. They'll question the teachers, they'll show them designs during a first meeting, and then during a second session, they'll come back with concept drawings and talk to them about what they like and what they want to see changed. And so I think that the users who have been involved have been very satisfied with communication. You cannot say that you haven't been asked what your opinion is. You know, if you have a classroom or work in an area of the school that is a focus of the bond question. So some of those user groups have been our science teachers, facts, business, physical education, all those areas in and around the robotics, band, orchestra area, you know, our cafeteria and food service people. So HTK has been doing a really great job, and I appreciate that. And then lastly, JAG. So I signed some JAG paperwork for Mrs. Bell this evening. We're renewing the JAG program. JAG has been at the middle school for several years now. I find it to be very efficient and effective, stands for Jobs for America's Graduates, Kansas. Mrs. Normandin is the current JAG career specialist. JAG is for students who need to integrate career skills of vocational training and career prep into their secondary career. Once a year, Mrs. Normandin takes kids to the state competition. This year it was in Junction City. It's a little bit like a track meet. A team can place itself So you can get first, second, third, fourth, fifth in your area of competition, but then there's cumulative points. So the more teams that you have placed as a school kind of raises the school standing, and Shawnee Heights Middle School got third overall this year. And we've done better. We've gotten second in the past. So that's out of many, many schools. So thank you so much to Mrs. Normandin. And then lastly, it's state assessment season at Shawnee Heights Middle School. So a lot of my time and attention is on coordinating state assessments. And I would just like to thank people like Mrs. Bell for helping us stay so organized, Austin Dinger, Ryan Bell for the IT support, Katie Davis for all the credentialing, and of course all the teachers, parents, and students for pulling it off. In the middle level, 7th grade students take math, reading, and social studies as their state assessments, and the 8th graders take math, ELA, and science. What questions do you have?
So for the summer school, what's the requirements for the kids to get in there on that?
Yeah.
Is it a recommended from 6th grade teacher?
Yeah, Buck, the way that works is I ask the 6th grade teachers and the 7th grade teachers for recommendations. So those are students that they believe would benefit from pre-teaching, reteaching, and further conceptual development of critical concepts. They also look for risk factors such as below grade level academic performance, failing classes. Then I send an email out to those parents and they register. If the program still isn't full after all the recommendations, I'll use other data that I can find in PowerSchool to push out more indirect recommendations so we can fill it up, make sure it's efficient.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Yerrick. Next, we'll move on to comments and concerns from patrons. This is an opportunity for district patrons to address either topics directly relevant to the business of the district or items on the current board agenda. All comments must be directed to the president of the board or presiding officer. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to present ideas, opinions, and/or concerns. And Aaron Patrick. Welcome.
Sorry, I'm not much of a public speaker, so I apologize if my voice is a little shaky. Good evening. Thank you for your time and your continued service to our students, staff, and community. My name is Aaron Patrick. I'm here tonight to respectfully ask that you move up and prioritize the construction of the secure entrance at Shawnee Heights Elementary School, an improvement that has already been approved as part of the bond, and funds have been specifically allocated for this purpose. I want to begin by grounding this request in what we mean when we say secure entrance. I'm sorry to bore you all with details that you're already aware of, but there seems to be some in our community that don't realize that simply having a door that locks doesn't make our building secure. Regulating access to a school requires sound visitor management procedures. At a minimum, visitors should be able to enter the school, be able to enter the school without registering at the main office. This should require proof of ID and an issuance of a visitor badge. An intercom or video call box would be located outside of the school, allowing the main office to screen a guest while they're still outside. The office staff would then allow visitors to enter through the first set of doors, but a secondary entrance would remain locked until proper screening is complete. It's not simply another set of doors to be buzzed through. The check-in at the office staff is the extra layer of protection. This setup is not just a design preference. It is widely recognized as baseline for school safety and is being added to school facilities across the country. Currently, Shez is the only building in our district that does not fully meet that standard. While the building is monitored with cameras and visitors must be buzzed in, once someone enters the school, they immediately have access to 3 hallways without being directed into the main office. That means there is a gap between entry and accountability, a gap that a secure entrance is specifically designed to close. The community has already demonstrated its support for this, and the bond passed with clear allocation for this project. There's now an active petition asking that this construction be moved up and treated as a priority among the district's projects. I have a copy of this petition. I currently have about 100 signatures on it. This is not a new request. It's just a request to act with urgency on something that has already been agreed upon. It appears to me, and I believe many in the community, that the safety and security of our children played a significant role in helping gain support for this bond that was somewhat challenging and somewhat unpopular at times. The inclusion of the secure entrance for Shawnee Heights brought some clarity and urgency to it, especially for those of us who were undecided. Because of this, I think it's reasonable for community members to have believed that this project would be a top priority. Many we've spoken to were simply unaware this wasn't being completed at the first opportunity and thought it would be done this summer. It was listed first among the bond projects, which naturally led many, including myself, to assume it would be one of the first completed. It's not my intent to diminish any other projects in the bond. Every project likely serves a meaningful purpose, but not all projects carry the same level of urgency. A secure entrance directly impacts the daily safety of students and staff. It's preventative, it's foundational, and it is time-sensitive. Moving this project up on the construction schedule would demonstrate that the district is aligned with the intent of the voters, responsive to community input, and fully committed to student safety. I respectfully ask that you take action to prioritize this, honoring both the financial commitment that has already been made and the voices of the families who are asking for it now. I'm aware that this request may not be taken into consideration, but at the end of the day, I have to know that I did everything I could to protect our children, and I hope you will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. We're going to move on to action items, business by consent. We need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Sarah,
Second.
second by Buck. All in favor? 7-0. We'll move on to approved jobs for America's graduates, and that would be, I apologize, Ms. Bell.
Good evening. Before you today, we're asking you to approve the 26-27 agreement with the Jobs of America's Graduates, otherwise known as JAG, for our middle school and high school program. JAG is an evidence-based accredited multi-year school-to-career program. JAG's focus is to create partnerships with businesses, student experiences, and to ensure that at-risk students remain in school and attain employable skills through classroom and career-based experiences. This agreement would allow us to maintain the current 2 high school JAG teachers that we have at the high school and 1 JAG teacher we have at the middle school. We are asking for your approval.
Are there any questions? Sure.
I can't remember. Do we hire the JAG teachers, or are they hired through the state program and then they're just assigned to us?
Yes, they're hired through the state program and assigned to us.
And do they have the same credential qualifications that are required of our other certified educators, or how do they fall within that spectrum?
They're not required to be certified teachers. They are, at one point in time, I believe is the case in practice, they are required to have a bachelor's degree from a college, but they're not required to be certified teachers.
But they're subject to all of our background checks and all of that, right?
Yes, they are. And then once they're placed in their school, they attend all of our professional development activities, our instructional coach works with them, they utilize our school, and they look at it like one of ours, and certainly we include them in everything.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? We need a motion to approve. Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Buck. All in favor? 7-0.
Thank you.
We'll move on to approve student lunch fees for the 2026-2027 school year. Ms. Darding.
Don't have a whole lot to add. They did some review of expenditures and revenue in the program, and they feel like they're getting all of the funding that they need in order to fund the program fully for this year. They're going to look at it and make more incremental changes every other year instead of making larger changes after a longer period of time. And so you'll probably expect to see a modest increase next year. But for this year, going into 26-27, the fees will remain flat. Any more questions?
All right, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Sarah, second by Christy. All in favor?
Thank you.
7-0. You are welcome. We'll move on to superintendent's report. Ms. Meggers.
Okay, Mr. West mentioned state assessments going on at the high school. They are going on in every building across the district right now. Busy with those. Those will all be wrapped up by April 24th. So in a little bit under 3 weeks, we will be finished with state assessments in every building. Leadership for Tomorrow, I mentioned this before, but we are hosting that cohort that is a group from across the state of Kansas. It's a leadership group. It consists of board members, superintendents, district and building leaders, and we will host them here Friday morning, actually in this room. And we'll give them kind of an overview of the district, and then they will actually get a go tour. They'll go to the auditorium, and the choir is going to perform a few songs for them. And then they'll visit the weight room, the student-run bank. Ann Wilhelm students are going to explain some of their projects and programs. And then they will end in the greenhouse and get a tour the greenhouse and plant a plant to take with them. So again, I'm just going to throw it out. If you're available that morning and want to pop in, we'd be happy to introduce you to them. We'll start at 8:30 in this room. You wouldn't have to stay the whole time, but you're more than welcome to just come pop in and meet that group. If not, we're just happy to get to host them and show off some of the positive things going on in the district. And then another positive coming up before we meet again is the Kansas Teacher of the Year banquet. We have a pretty good group of administrators and staff going to support Leslie Nelson and Mitch Spade, who are our elementary and secondary nominees. So that is coming up, not this weekend, but I think the following weekend. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
What was the date on the leadership tomorrow?
Friday, sorry, I don't think I said it, Friday, April 10th.
All right, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to questions and comments from Board of Education members. I just had one. As a board, make sure to check your emails, board members. We've gotten several invitations or requests from teachers asking us to participate in a few class projects and interviews and things like that. So be sure to check your emails and respond back.
I wanted to thank our patron for coming out and speaking and advocating for our kids. And, you know, I think all of it, I know 4 of us at least at some point in time either have kids that go to Shawnee Shez or currently have. So we definitely understand the world we live in and the concern and the desire and the need to prioritize that. So we appreciate you speaking out. Thank you.
Lauren?
It's been a while since I've read or remember everything that we included in the bond, but when we added the secure entrance for Shez, were we also planning on adopting some kind of ID scanning software? I don't recall discussing that.
We did not. We talked about just creating a new entrance and that secondary, like they would go directly right into the office.
But we don't have like the ability to scan IDs in place, right?
There are a lot of schools that do, and I'd be interested in learning more about it.
I remember us having a discussion about it many, many years ago, and then we ended up going a different direction. So I just couldn't remember if we had included that in our discussion of secure entrance or not, so.
Lauren, are you still on that public or our committee that on the safety?
I am not.
Not, okay.
I think
Okay.
Buck has taken that position.
That might be a good opportunity to bring
Yeah.
that up and talk about and discuss that.
That actually, yeah, that's a great idea. That'd be a great discussion to have in the safety committee. Maybe it's more affordable. I think it was an affordability issue when we initially discussed it, so maybe it's a bit more affordable now.
On that, I think, do we need to do a vote or anything on that safety committee, or is it just a simple, okay? I just wasn't sure. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? We're going to move on to an executive session for personnel. I move that we go into executive session to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to the exception for non-elected personnel under COMA. We will return to regular session at 7:30 or 7:45. Need a second? Second. Motion by Erica, second by Sarah. All in favor? 7-0. Okay, I need a motion to approve the sub-driver pay structure as discussed in executive session.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Kristen, second by Christie, all in favor? 7-0. Okay, we're going to move on to another executive session for a student matter. Sorry, I shut my notebook too soon. I move that we go into executive session to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma. We will return to regular session at, what time is it? I don't, that clock's wrong.
7:47.
So 8:07. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Sarah, or motion by Erica, second by Sarah, all in favor? 7-0. Okay, I move that we go back into executive session to discuss the negotiated contract pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under COMA. We will return to regular session in 20 minutes, which would be 8:27. Need a second? Second. Motion by Erica, second by Rocky, all in favor, 4-0.
Second.
Second by Rocky, all in favor? 7-0.